Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk KFYO. Join us on the phones right now, founder and executive director of Power the Future. Daniel Turner joins us here on the Chad Hasty Show. Daniel, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to have you on the show. For folks who may not know, you are the founder and executive director of Power the Future. Tell folks a little bit about that organization.
So I started this group about 3 years ago for the sole purpose of advocating for America's energy workers. There are millions of Americans who work in oil, gas, coal, fracking pipelines, etc. A lot of them in your neck of the woods in West Texas. And yet there are some crazy billionaire ideologues who push a green agenda, and they live in places like San Francisco and D.C. and New York, and they seem to have more power and more money, and they get to decide that small towns in West Texas go bankrupt because they pass a ban on fracking or whatever other thing they don't like for political purposes. And I wanted to give those workers a voice, so I started an organization to advocate for them and for their rights, because what they do powers our country.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a good organization. We appreciate you for joining us and giving folks a voice. I will say this, one of the folks who wants to destroy all those jobs is trying to move into the White House. Now, he's not quite clear if it's going to be a Biden-Harris administration or a Harris-Biden administration, but one way or the other, if the Democrats gain the White House, they're going to be pushing for the new Green Deal and other policies that are just not good for America.
No, and if they push this green agenda, not only will it put millions of American energy workers out of a job, but where are solar panels made? 95% of them are made in China. Where are wind turbines made? About 90% of them are made in China. Those lithium-ion batteries that are going to be in all of these electric vehicles manufactured in China, right? It is amazing how much of this technology is outsourced to that country. So nobody wants America to be green more than China, because it is really a blank check for them and for their whole middle class. Their whole manufacturing sector would love America to shut down oil and gas wells and buy solar panels.
And that's probably something that's not really talked about as much as it should be. With everything that has gone on with, the coronavirus and everything else, do we want to be even that more reliant on the Chinese government?
No, exactly. And these technologies, and I have nothing against them in principle, right? I think they're interesting. I think they have a bright future. But I'm also a realist when it comes to green technology, and they do not last forever. Solar panels and wind turbines have about a 10-year lifespan, and they break, and they need to be replaced, and they don't stand up to tornadoes, and they don't stand up to hurricanes, which I think West Texas has their fair share of tornadoes every now and then. Yeah. And wind turbines and solar fields don't survive. So when you all need replacement parts and you go to China, are they going to do what they did with the protective equipment just now when they said, well, maybe we won't sell you any equipment because we don't like America, or this is a bargaining chip for trade negotiations? That's what they did when it came to masks and coronavirus equipment. What happens when our electric grid is dependent on China and they decide, maybe we're not selling you any more solar panels? Good luck, Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, listen, that is something that could always happen. With where does Biden, if he's elected president, where does Biden fall? I mean, is he all 100%, going along with the Green New Deal?
There is no idea of who Joe Biden is anymore. And I don't mean this to sound unkind or unchristian, but he clearly is being manipulated by his handlers and by the ideologues of the Democrat Party. So I don't look at his rhetoric, I look at the actions of his campaign. When he puts Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders in charge of energy and environmental policy, he is saying what would happen if he becomes president. I bet you the old Joe Biden of 30 years ago was probably fairly friendly to the environment, to the energy space. But that is not the Joe Biden of today, and this is who we are running against, and this is who has to be defeated for the good of America's future.
Well, and I think it's also, something where people need to know that you've got, you've got people like Bloomberg sinking millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into this election, and you're going to see. You're going to see, the billionaires coming out in favor of Joe, and it's going to be a money war.
And someone like Michael Bloomberg, who himself ran for president, who you were right will spend hundreds of millions of dollars to sway this election, 14 homes around the world, right? Multiple private jets, multiple helicopters. He's a very accomplished pilot, and he loves toys. And I got to tell you, Chad, if I had $60 billion, I would probably buy myself some toys as well. But so his policies on the Green New Deal, who is he putting out of work? Someone in Midland, right? An average family who's making a good living but lives in his community and goes to his church and supports Little League. That's the one who's going to be punished. Not Michael Bloomberg with his 14 million for those 14 mansions around the world. Not someone like Tom Steyer, also a green billionaire with multiple homes and multiple private jets. Right? The liberal policies punish average people, and the elite, the connected, the powerful, they always thrive.
Daniel Turner, founder and executive director of Power the Future. You can go to powerthefuture.com for more information. Appreciate your time today, and thanks for everything you're doing out there.
Thank you, Chad.
Have a good one. That's Daniel Turner here on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO.